Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel and the podcast. Today we have a 7-game NBA slate to start the new week. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. We're going to have a ton of content over here on YouTube and Patreon this week for the Arnold Palmer Invitational for the PGA events. The XFL Week 5, there'll be a ton of content going out today via Patreon. Tomorrow we'll have both Patreon and YouTube for the XFL. And then continuing to have NBA videos throughout the week as well. So I appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much if you're listening on the audio version. Hope you had a great weekend. If you're listening on the YouTube version, as I point to you, hope you also had a fantastic weekend. Today's video is sponsored by Drafters.com. Drafters.com, it's an online snake draft format. Now that Draft.com has gone play draft, I don't really know if there's any online DFS snake draft formats. I think it's just Drafters. I really enjoy them. I've been playing over there for not just this past month. No, they've been sponsoring this channel for the better part of a year and a half to 2 years now. And they've been there in the trenches, and they've been growing, and they've been innovating, and they're going to be launching best balls. Really, I'm waiting any week now. Supposed to be talking with them soon about some of the cool new features that they're adding, but it's online snake drafts. It's not salary cap based, so you go in there, you draft for the day. For NBA, I would recommend waiting until later in the night, so your second round pick is not out. You can change him, but now you're changing him for somebody that was not picked in the draft, so obviously not great. But yeah, I think that it's a great format, and if you want to try it out, 100% deposit bonus for up to $50 if you use the promo code SAL. So you want to go ahead, you want to put $10 in, $20 in to try it out. You'll get 10 or 20 right back if you use the promo code SAL. There's a link down below in the description that gets you over to that. Also, my Patreon projections are linked down below for the NBA. Player pools updated throughout lock, XFL, lots of stuff going out, PGA as well throughout the week. And for the MLB crowd, because now that we are in March, the MLB does start in about 3.5 weeks or so. I will be covering the MLB. It will be a little bit, to start the year, it will at least be, I guess you can say, spotty. Maybe not every single day, including the weekends, because I'm doing NBA videos that time. But I'll be getting in a couple of MLB videos a week. There will be MLB-specific content rankings for pitchers, all that stuff on Patreon and some other things. So if you're interested in that, you can check it out. Hit the subscribe button before we continue to go. Another $50 winner yesterday. I believe it was the first name was Aaron. It was a weird email that got sent in to me, but $50 winner. Congratulations to you, Aaron. Appreciate you entering that contest by subscribing to the podcast, by leaving a review on the podcast. We'll run another one next weekend, and we'll continue to run the $20 podcast giveaway weekend. $20 podcast giveaway throughout the week, and then $50 on the weekends for people who do subscribe and leave reviews over there. Notification bell on YouTube also gets you in with the subscribe button here as well. So a lot of plugs because of the new week, a lot of plugs because a ton of people usually see my content on Mondays. Let's get into the video, starting with the injury news in Atlanta. Cam Reddish is questionable with the back. DeAndre Bembry is out with an abdominal injury. This is pretty big because Bembry being out usually doesn't matter. It means Brandon Goodwin gets like 6 minutes instead of 0. Or even Bembry might be a healthy scratch regardless, but Reddish being questionable does matter here. He's been playing around 30 minutes. He's been playing 26.6 minutes per game this year. And if you end up getting Reddish out, well, then Jeff Teague becomes a much better play. Goodwin starts to see more minutes. So keep a close eye on that for Jeff Teague value. In Chicago, Otto Porter is finally on the injury report. He's been practicing, and now he's questionable instead of being ruled out for the past 3 months with a foot injury. So if he's active, I really don't think he plays all that much anyways, but he's at least going to take away from the upside of Thad Young, potentially take away from the upside of you guys like, Shaq Harrison, 18 to 20 minutes, maybe Kobe White. Lauri Markkanen, again, somebody else who's finally on the injury report, but he does not seem like he's going to play. Doubtful, but that's better than just being ruled out for the past 3.5 months. In Cleveland, Tristan Thompson will miss again. You had Andre Drummond play 36 minutes. You had Kevin Love play higher 30s in minutes in the last game, starting at the 4 and the 5. Now a matchup against Utah. Difficult matchup, but I expect that to be the exact same rotations, 30-plus minutes for both of those guys, especially since you have Alfonso McKinney, who's a small forward, power forward, out again, and Darius Garland, who's been playing big minutes, 32, 33 per game as of late. Even more than that, is out with a groin. So this is huge for a guy like Kevin Porter Jr., who's already been playing big minutes. Look at his last 4 games over the last 2 weeks since returning from the All-Star break. They said that they wanted to make an active movement to become more of a point guard on this team. Now you have no Darius Garland, a shooting guard. Now you have still no Dante Exum. That's 18 minutes or so off the bench. Brandon Knight's now on Detroit, not on this team anymore. And you end up having a situation where Alfonso McKinney's out. So they're really shallow in terms of bodies. Tristan Thompson's out in terms of the front court rotation. So Kevin Porter Jr. should get 30-plus minutes in this game. I wouldn't be shocked to see him actually starting in place of Darius Garland at this point. So I like the Kevin Porter Jr. a good deal as of right now. Luka missed last night. He's questionable with a thumb. Chris Middleton missed last night in the back-to-back today. He is questionable with a neck. You had Kristoff going for 70 plus fantasy points. If Luke is out, just play Kristoff against a banged up Chicago front court. Wendell Carter is probable to return in this one, but maybe on a minutes limit. So either way, if Luka is out, Kristoff is a play that's a strong play today. Chris Middleton, if he's out, well, you get some more interesting guys like Eric Bledsoe, maybe some of the wings like a Pat Connaughton and George Hill for Middleton minutes getting soaked up there. But it's Giannis for me in this one against Miami. Kyle Korver's still out with a back. In New York, just Reggie Bullock is questionable with an illness. I mean, him being out, they have like 6 more wings to rotate through minutes-wise. So between your Ellingtons, your Dotsons, your Ntilikina's, Dennis Smiths, RJ Barrett's, Alfred Payton, like I just have no interest in Reggie Bullock's health status today from a fantasy perspective. Hopefully he heals up, though, from I think he's an illness. For Portland, you have Anthony Simons questionable with an ankle. Damian Lillard remains out with a groin injury. If you have no Anthony Simons today, it's just going to help guys like Gary Trent pick up more minutes. Maybe some Mario Hezonja. For San Antonio, some big news here. Marcus Aldridge remains doubtful with the shoulder, but now Jakob Poeltl is out with an MCL, and we don't know how long he's going to be out. Well, he hasn't officially been ruled out, but he's straightened MCL. He's not just going to be playing today. But now, these are their 2 centers. You had Drew Eubanks, I believe. I'm probably butchering that last name. But he did play 16 minutes in that game, the last game where you only got 4 minutes out of Jakob Poeltl before he ended up getting hurt. Eubanks started the second half for Jakob Poeltl. He played 5 minutes and 43 seconds in a stint, and then he played 3 minutes and 45 seconds. So he played about, 9 minutes or so, a little bit more in the second half alone, Drew Eubanks. So if he was to start this game, maybe you give him 18 to 20. He's at $3,000 flat minimum. He is in play for me. It's a tough matchup against Indianapolis, against the bigs, the front court that is pretty much huge and good defensively in Sabonis and Miles Turner. But you also ended up getting a ton of minutes out of Trey Lyles and Rudy Gay were the big ones. Surprisingly, Lonnie Walker picked up no additional run. He pretty much saw 10 minutes and he saw no second half run after Jakob Poeltl got hurt. In this game, you had Trey Lyles start alongside Jakob Poeltl, but Trey Lyles ended up going on to play 40 minutes, 39.8. Rudy Gay immediately checked in in the first quarter for Jakob Poeltl. He went on to come off the bench and play a grand total of 30 minutes. Out of those 30 minutes, if you're looking for second half minutes run, Rudy Gay in the second half last night, or 2 nights ago, ended up playing around 13 minutes. So not great if you're trying to prolong that over the entire game, because the second half minutes are important, because that's where you started to see Drew Eubanks start the second half. It was not Rudy Gay for Jakob Poeltl. So if I'm just guessing based on starters from the last game and the fact that Indianapolis is a tall team, and you can't just start Trey Lyles and Rudy Gay as your 4 and 5, it's not going to work out trying to go smaller ball. I think you get Drew Eubanks. Again, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Starting at center, Trey Lyles continuing to starting at the 4, but then you'll get some Rudy Gay rotated in there. At $3,000 flat minimum, it does make Eubanks a really good option. Trey Lyles, obviously, still a fine option, but the price point has come up. Let's get into my early interests now. There's a good amount of them for this slate. Look, there's a lot of injury news, and a lot of injury news, a lot of injury news to the studs on this 4-game slate, so you're usually going to see me have more interest in players. I will call out, as always, some of the other sponsors of the shows that we have throughout the week, some Fantasy Draft and Super Draft, some of the spots that I think are fantastic options on those slates. If you're interested in playing on Fantasy Draft, salary cap, no rake, Super Draft, multiplier format, they have a free roll for $100 today. You can click the link down below in the description for either of those sites. Fantasy Draft one takes you to the NBA lobby. Super Draft link gives you a $10 free upon deposit. So be sure to check that out. That link will give you $10 free upon deposit. Don't worry about the promo code, but the link down below will take you there. If you're listening on the podcast and you can't find the link, it's in the description, but you can use the promo code SAL on Super Draft for that $10. So we have about 22 names here. Some people have asked me, or 21 names. Some people have asked me, oh, Sal, how do you only have this many people? No. On a 7-game slate, I'll have about 55 players in a player pool or so. So don't worry. This is only a quarter or a fraction of what you're going to get there. You can get the rest over on Patreon. If you're interested with the projections, we'll link those up above right now. But Giannis, Luka, Russell Westbrook, those are my guys above $10,000. Harden is dirt cheap too. So look. So Trae Young's up there. There's so many options. So if you end up getting Harden at like 10% on today compared to these other guys that I'm naming who are 20%, well then yes, in GPPs, go to Harden, who's half the ownership, and will project out very closely for a Westbrook and a Luka. Probably not a Giannis for me, but pretty closely to those guys. Same can be said for Trae Young if he's getting 5% ownership. So out of all these top guys, cash-wise, I like Luka, Westbrook, and Giannis. GPP-wise, it's going to be an ownership game when all of them are going to project out really nicely. Giannis probably touches 60 fantasy point projection for me. Luka might get close to that, but then Westbrook, Trae Young, and Harden are all going to be in the mid-50s or so. So it really becomes an ownership game at that point. Just track Luka's status. He is questionable. Russell Westbrook, though, it's so hard to ignore him. They're playing small ball, and he's just benefiting so much from it. He is the number one rebounder on the team. Now that their other bigs that he's competing with is Robert Covington and PJ Tucker, who stand by the three-point line 75% of the time on offense. So he's getting offensive rebounds. He's leading his team there. He's getting defensive rebounds. Everything's just boosting for him. And that was price point drop from the last time that he dropped 60-plus fantasy points a couple days ago. If you look at his last 7 games, they've won 6 out of those last 7. I believe only one time he has not scored 30 real points. I believe it's like 3 or 4 times he scored 35 plus points. So Westbrook at 10,000 looks like a really strong option. If Luka is back and healthy and full go at 10-3, I would prefer Luka overall. I just think the upside's higher there. But these two guys, like if you can build lineups where you're getting 2 of these 10K plus guys in, I think it's a really strong option. I think the mid-range today is a little bit softer than we've seen as of late. I think the bottom range of the 5K and below is really filled with strong values today as well. So just looking a little bit more now down here, you have CJ McCollum. So CJ McCollum at 9,300 might be appropriately priced for DraftKings. On Super Draft, on Fantasy Draft at 17,400, he's a smash play, but 9,300, I'm going to give him 38 minutes. He's been playing 38 to 40 since Damian Lillard has been out, and he's been averaging around 1.3 fantasy points per minute. But he's the play of the day. He's the lock of all locks for me over on Superdraft. He's a 1.4x multiplier. A 1.4x multiplier for him would, for me, have to put him somewhere like he would be 1.4x if Damian Lillard was active. That's the way for me to put it. And Damian Lillard is not active, so he is my number one play of the day on Superdraft. I haven't even done the projections yet. But he is the lock of all locks I have written here. I think I gave him a 1.6x, but he's a 1.4x multiplier in Superdraft. So if you're not playing on Superdraft tonight, this is the easiest play that you will ever have to fill out your Superdraft lineups. Go ahead, sign up with the link down below. Domantas Sabonis I actually do like. I've been playing him as sort of a guy when he has no ownership, and he's been dropping 50 points consistently. Now he's below 9K at $8,800. I think Domantas Sabonis is a very strong option today. 1.25x multiplier in Superdraft. I like him the most on DraftKings. The issue with him on DraftKings today is depending on what happens with some injury news, there's a lot of fantastic center options at the low end. We just talked about San Antonio's big situation. The mid-tier range we're going to get to, and like paying all the way up at 8,800 for a guy who's going to take up a center spot isn't great, but he also has power forward eligibility, so it gives him another 2 spots to get into your lineups. Kristoff is in yellow at 8,600. I'm only going to play Kristoff Porzingis today if indeed Luka Doncic is out. Kristoff Porzingis, so far this season, if you're just trying to look at the games where you have Luka Doncic off the court, and I guess we can also take off Brunson off the court as well now, because if this was to happen today, Brunson's going to be out for a while. But if you were to look at those games so far this season, you have Kristoff Porzingis without Luka and without Jalen Brunson at 1.38 fantasy points per minute. That is unreal production. That's in a sample size of around 200 minutes. Now, if you just take Luka off the court and try and get a sample and not really care too much about what's happening with Brunson, you'll still get a 1.38, but now you have a sample of about 540 minutes. So just so you can see that there's an actual bigger sample there. He's been fantastic in that regard. The usage rate spikes, of course, as well. I mean, the offense rolls right through him at 30.1% usage. Everything spikes for Luka Doncic, or when Luka Doncic is off the court for everybody, but the biggest beneficiary is indeed Kristoff Porzingis. He even sees his assist percentage slike up a little bit. I mean, it goes from like 7% to 10%, but a decent amount. So only if Luka is out will I play Kristoff at this increased price point. You get right now Nikola Vucevic. He's been fantastic as of late. I mean, we've been seeing him priced at 9,500 over the last week, and I think he deserves those price tags. But I love it when DraftKings just prices him in the low 8K range. Again, he's center only, so we're about to get to the next guy in this list and a couple more guys down here who are only center eligible as well, and I think I'd rather play them today. But Vucevic is if you're in this range and Luka is in and you can't get up to Sabonis and you're stuck between like, say, 8,300 and 8,600, yeah, I think that Vooch might be the guy that I'm going to if Luka's in. But Andre Drummond at 8,000, I mean, he just dropped 60-plus fantasy points, a vintage Detroit Pistons Andre Drummond from weeks and really what was at this point like a month and a half ago. But look, no Tristan Thompson. If you're going to play 30-plus minutes, tougher matchup against Utah now, especially for a traditional center like Drummond, so that's a little bit discouraging. But if you're going to play, if I can project you for 34 minutes, say today, or 33 minutes, even more than that with an upside on it, then yeah, at $8,000, you look fantastic on DraftKings. He's 14,300 on Fantasy Draft. That's my favorite spot for him. A 1.2x multiplier in Super Draft isn't bad. He's just really mispriced here. Like Drummond should be $9,000 if Tompkins is going to be out again, but we didn't have that news before the pricing. DeMar DeRozan at 7,300. Yeah, really hard not to like DeMar DeRozan at this point when you have no Aldridge likely to be doubtful. The rebounding rate will spike even higher with no Jakob Poeltl. But the big thing is just here, Aldridge being off the court. I've said it a couple times on these shows, but with Aldridge off the court this season, DeMar DeRozan is averaging a 1.35 fantasy point per minute production in 475 minutes of play, and his usage rate is just absolutely filthy of 32.4%. Everything clicks for DeMar DeRozan at that point. He is the primary scorer on this team. It's just at this price point when he's dropping now to 7,300. It's almost questionable for me. Like, I don't understand why that's happening. You're getting a guy with a 29.1% usage rate and 25% assist percentage when you have LaMarcus Aldridge on the court, and now it's spiking to 35% with him off the court. So yeah, I think that DeMar DeRozan is one of the stronger plays of the day. 1.3x multiplier in Superdraft looks good. Kevin Love played 35 plus minutes in the last game. Tougher matchup against Utah, but he still looks good at 7K flat. Getting to the 6K range, I try to find a couple of options in each pricing range. Brogdon at the top is one of the guys that I like the least on this entire slate, but I will point out his 1.55x multiplier on Superdraft is pretty friendly. He's 6,900 on DraftKings. Don't like that price as much, but I think it's fine. Joe Val is a fantastic option across the board today if he plays his minutes. Like, if he gets 28 plus, I love Joe Val at 6,800 versus Atlanta today. He's been playing 30 plus as of late. They don't really have a center out there, but they're going to put John Collins at the center a good amount. Bruno Fernando backing him out, but still having some injuries to Clint Capella, Dwayne Dedmon. So I think Joe Val is one of the strongest plays in the slate. I think that's why if he plays the 28 plus, I'm going to project him for maybe 28 to 29, and he'll look fantastic at 6,800. For cash, for GPPs, I think he's the strongest mid-range play in the slate if he gets those minutes. And this is a big reason why Sabonis, Vooch, even Drummond to an extent don't look as appealing to me, because I have Joe Val that's going to project out for similar fantasy points, maybe a little bit less, but he's also $2,000 less than those guys, $1,200 less than those guys, and he's only center eligible. So now you're really taking up your utility spots with any other center that you play. Kobe White, 1.75x multiplier in Superdraft looks the best. 5,800 on DraftKings is starting to get to a price point where I'm going to run away from it a little bit. DeJounte Murray also sees a bump with no LaMarcus Aldridge on the court, as you would expect, especially in his rebounding rate the most, but you get him at a 1.15 fantasy point per minute producer in 385 minutes without Aldridge on the court this year. You get his usage rate only around like 21%. That's very similar to what you get out of guys like Patty Mills. Rudy Gay's usage rate actually bumps up to 23%. That's actually important to note in 646 minutes of play. Some of the other fantasy point per minute production boosts, not outside of just Murray and DeMar DeRozan for San Antonio. Rudy Gay, 1.06 fantasy points per minute in 646 minutes. Jakob Poeltl, we're not going to get him, but that's about a point per minute production. Patty Mills in 700 minutes is around a point per minute producer. 0.9 fantasy points per minute for Derek White in 625 minutes. Trey Lyles, an important 1.87 fantasy points per minute in 285 minutes without Aldridge on the court. Mike Conley's too cheap at 5,400. 1.75x multiplier in Superdraft looks fine. I'm going to give him 32 minutes against the worst backcourt in the entire league with Sexton and Garland. Now Garland's out. Now you're going to have Sexton, Osman, and Kevin Porter. Just a ton of young players, first and second year players out there. So yes, give me Mike Conley today at 5,400. Give me him across the board on all these sites. 10-3 on Fantasy Draft. Dillon Brooks, 5,300. He's going to play 30 plus minutes, probably 32 plus minutes. He's going to be a focal point of the offense against the worst defense against backcourts in the league in Atlanta right now. So I'm absolutely fine getting to any and all Dillon Brooks that people want to get to today in GPPs. In cash, I think he's okay. He's just at a price point though, and this is a really difficult price range for me to kind of pick apart. And this is why I like it a lot, maybe getting up to 210K guys, because you could load up on these 5K and 4K values. DeJounte Murray, Mike Conley, Dillon Brooks all look fantastic. I have really no bad things to say about any of them at their price points. I probably prefer Conley, Murray, and Brooks in that order. But then you start getting into a range where you have Kevin Porter Jr. with no Dante Exum, with no Alfonso McKinney, with no Darius Garland. He's been playing 30 minutes or so as of late. Now he's probably going to play, 34 minutes, 35 minutes today against a team in Utah who is a very strong team, of course, defensively, but he's still been balling out. 1.75x multiplier in Superdraft looks good. He's 4,900. On DraftKings, Fantasy Draft even looks okay. It's just a situation that I think he looks fantastic. You have Utah as well. I mean, they, like historically, in really the last 3 years, you think defense is fantastic for them. So far this season on defense, they rank 10th on defense, right? So that's good in terms of points per possession. Over the last 2 weeks of their games, really since the All-Star break, a little bit before that, they ranked 29th in the league on defense. So kind of falling apart a little bit on defense at this point. Their spread differentials ranks dead last in the league as well. Their point differentials ranks 24th. So although they've been good as of late this year in overall point differential, or on the entire year, they've been absolutely terrible as of late. If you're looking at overall defenses right now, Washington ranks dead last in the league. Cleveland ranks second to last. So there's some of your Utah upside for those guys. Atlanta ranks third to last. There's your upside for the Memphis guys like Dillon Brooks and somebody else on this list, DeAnthony Melton, who's played 25 minutes in back-to-back games. I still have him at 1.07 fantasy points per minute today against Atlanta. He's been starting. If he stays out of foul trouble, he might even play 28 minutes. Again, situation where Atlanta ranks 27th in point differential, 28th in spread differential, and 28th in overall defense. It's going to be a faster paced game. Give me D'Anthony Melton. I do like him. Trey Lyles at 4,800. The price point absolutely spikes, but you can give him around a 0.85 fantasy point per minute production today, maybe even a little bit more if he somehow gets to start at center. It is a tougher matchup, though, against a bigger team. Give him 32 minutes. It doesn't look as great, but he could play for 35, 36 minutes. I wouldn't be shocked. Anthony or Rudy Gay, I'm not sure if he starts, but he should still see mid-20s in minutes. Price up to 4,300 still looks okay. PJ Tucker, 3,900. He's been getting more volume the last two games, like 20 and 30 fantasy points the last two times out. That pays off this $3,900 price tag. It's just that I don't really have much faith in the consistency of that. He has increased shot attempts the last two games. Instead of shooting 3 times a game, he shot like 7 and 8. So that's going to help you a lot when you really, really depend on your scoring. So that's where I'm at with 21 players. I will point out that the $5,500 range to really the $4,500 range is absolutely loaded as of right now, and we don't even have more injury news yet. But starting at DeJounte Murray, Mike Conley, Dylan Brooks, Kevin Porter Jr., Trey Lyles, D'Anthony Melton, you can even throw Rudy Gay in there. That's a lot of loaded players. The guy that I like the most out of that range might be Kevin Porter Jr., then Conley, then Murray, but Melton's very close as well. It's just really hard to parse through right now. I'll have the projections out later. You can kind of see where they all rank out for me. I'm sure they'll all remain in the player pool, but you can see a little bit closer how they separate themselves out. I think right now the best play on the day that I'm seeing is CJ McCollum on SuperDraft at 1.4x multiplier. Go ahead and play that on SuperDraft. They have a $100 free roll, but you can click the link down below in my description to get a free $10 upon your first deposit. So you want to throw $10 in, you'll get $10 right back. And the presenting sponsor of today's show is Drafters.com. So snake drafts. Best ball is coming very soon for the NFL, especially in a couple of really months at this point to try and get ahead of the curve with the best ball leagues. If you like best ball, if you like snake drafts, and you want to try it out for DFS, check out Drafters. They are the site, the premier site in the industry to do so. They are linked up down below in the description. 100% deposit bonus if you use the promo code SAL100. So if you want to play $10 and just try it out, you get another 10 just for free. You get another $11 contest over there. So thanks so much for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button before you go. Hit the rate and review on the podcast. Hit the notification bell on YouTube. Peace out, gang.
Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed that video. Above my head, if you're not already subscribed to this channel, I do ask you if you can please hit that subscribe button. Helps me out a good amount to reach more people. You can also follow me on Twitter. That's over there. Right in the corner is my @SalVetriDFS Twitter. And then above, you'll find my Patreon link. You can click on that if you want more exclusive content for me. Or a video is going to pop up, so why don't you check that one out as well. I think it's going to be beneficial for you. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.